Hey, my human compatriots, gather round because today we're diving into a tale of love, burnout, and a classic clash of logical fallacies. Let me introduce you to Tiny Tim, our plucky underdog who works for the infamous megacorp we all know and hate, GEICO. Picture this. Tim's got a doctoral degree, but he's stuck answering calls at a GEICO call center for $25 an hour. Sure, that might sound decent, but when you factor in the soul-crushing ranking system, the constant fear of being axed in their biannual 10% employee purge, and the general aura of despair in the air, it's not exactly a picnic. Now, Tim's burned out. He comes home one night, drops onto the couch, and starts venting to his girlfriend, Vanessa. He tells her about feeling exploited, underappreciated, and overwhelmed. He's not just complaining. He's grieving the gap between what he thought he'd be doing post-graduation and the reality of corporate drudgery. And what does Vanessa do? Well, she does what so many well-meaning people do. She hits him with the old, "you're not a victim" line and pivots straight into, "you should be grateful to have a job." It's so much worse for people who don't have work or live in poverty in a third-world country. Boom. Logical fallacies galore. Let's unpack this beautifully messy situation. Vanessa's first move is to compare Tim's burnout and frustration at GEICO to being unemployed or living in poverty. Now, don't get me wrong. Unemployment and third-world poverty are crushingly serious issues. But comparing them to Tim's situation is like comparing a sprained ankle to a broken leg. Both are painful, but they're not the same. This is a textbook case of false equivalence. Then there's the classic whataboutism, by saying, what about people who have it worse? Vanessa redirects the focus from Tim's valid concerns about workplace exploitation to a broader, unrelated issue. Sure, it's true that people in other situations suffer more, but that doesn't magically erase the reality of Tim's struggles. Whataboutism is basically the verbal equivalent of sweeping everything under the rug and calling it clean. By telling Tim he's not a victim, Vanessa unintentionally minimizes his feelings and experiences. Look, Tim's not trying to win the Victim Olympics here. He's just expressing frustration about a toxic workplace. Minimizing his concerns doesn't make them go away, it just makes him feel unheard. Vanessa's logic also suggests two options. Either Tim should be grateful for his job, or he could face the horror of unemployment or worse. But life isn't binary. Tim's complaints don't mean he's ungrateful, and being thankful for having a job doesn't mean he can't criticize the way GEICO treats its employees. This false dichotomy traps the conversation in extremes and ignores the possibility of meaningful middle ground. Here's the bigger issue. Perspective is a tool, not a weapon. Vanessa's attempt to give Tim perspective ends up dismissing his legitimate concerns. Tim's point was valid. GEICO's workplace culture is toxic. Ranking employees, terminating the bottom 10% every 6 months, and running on fear and exploitation isn't just bad, it's unsustainable. So what can Tim and Vanessa learn from this? Tim needs to acknowledge Vanessa's intent while gently steering the conversation back to his point. He might say, "You're absolutely right. Unemployment or poverty is worse, and I feel for anyone in that position. But this isn't about comparisons. This is about how GEICO is treating its employees and how that impacts me. Both things can be true." Vanessa, on the other hand, might benefit from shifting her approach. Instead of comparing Tim's struggles to worse ones, she could say, "That sounds really tough. How can I support you?" At the end of the day, this isn't just about Tiny Tim and Vanessa. It's about how we handle each other's struggles. Logical fallacies, whether they're false equivalences, whataboutism, or minimization, don't just derail conversations. They erode trust and understanding. So the next time someone comes to you with their pain, don't hit them with logic bombs or comparisons. Just listen. Empathy is the ultimate win. To Tim, Vanessa, and the eternal fight against logical fallacies, may we all learn to be better to each other. And may Tiny Tim find a job that doesn't make him feel like a cog in the corporate machine.